The last volume that we are going to find is volume of spheres. So a sphere is a 3D figure which the set of all points are equidistant from the given point called the center. So when we talked about a circle, we said that it was a two-dimensional figure where every point was the same distance away from the center, and that distance was called the radius. So you still have a radius in a sphere, but now it's three-dimensional. So sphere looks like a ball, still has a radius, still has a center, still has a diameter. The center in the very middle, so if you were to cut the sphere perfectly in half, you would have two hemispheres, and that circle where you would cut it is called the great circle. To find the volume of a sphere, you use the formula 4/3 pi r cubed. You can also do 4 pi r cubed and then take that answer and divide by 3. So for number 1, we're finding the volume of the sphere. We're going to round to the tenths place. We need to know our volume formula. 4/3 pi r is the radius, which is 7 cubed. So when you're using a calculator, whether you're using like a TI-36X Pro or you're using Decimus, whatever you're using, just be really careful as you type in your values. If you don't have the ability to do a fraction, then you might want to type it in this way. Oops, put a 7 here. Those are exactly the same thing, so it's kind of a preference. All right, and so with a lot of these, you might get an exact answer first, which is what I got first. I got 1,372 pi over 3. Just depends on the calculator you're using, but we can easily turn that into a decimal value. So for this one, that would be 1,436.8, and this is inches cubed. Still cubed because we're talking about volume. All right, on this one, we're looking for the volume, but this time they give us the diameter is 34. So if the diameter is 34, that means to find our radius, we're going to cut 34 in half, which is going to mean our radius is 17. So when we're going to find the volume, 4/3 pi times 17 cubed. If you're using the TI-36X Pro and you don't know where the cubed button is, there isn't necessarily a cubed button, there's just like an exponent button, and it's right above the x squared, which you should be familiar with. So this one went ahead and went straight to a decimal value. It didn't give us an exact value. It's 20,579.5, and this one is meters cubed. Number 3, we have a hemisphere. So you're going to find the volume the same way, but there's 2 ways you can approach it. You can go ahead at the beginning and multiply it by 1/2, or at the end you can divide by 2. I usually just do it from the beginning because it's a hemisphere, it's half, so it's 1/2 times 4/3 pi, r is 14 cubed. So when I type it in, I go ahead and do that. But you could do the 4/3 pi times 14 cubed to get that answer and then divide that answer by 2. Again, it's a preference thing. This one should be approximately 5,747.0, and this would be yards cubed. All right, last problem. The Henleys have a silo on their farm to store grain. Assuming the entire space is used, what is the maximum amount of grain the silo can hold? So in this picture, we are looking at a cylinder, and then on top of the cylinder is that hemisphere. So we need to find the volume of the cylinder, find the volume of the hemisphere, and then add those together. So to find the volume of a cylinder, our formula is the area of the base times the height. The area of the base, that's a circle, so to find the area of the base, we're going to do pi r squared. So we've got to figure out the radius. If you look at the hemisphere at the top, you can see it has a diameter of 22, which means the radius will be 11. So 11 squared is 121, which makes the area of the base 121 pi. Now we need to find the height of the cylinder. So they give us this height of 45 feet, but that's the height from the cylinder all the way up to that hemisphere, including the hemisphere. So like I was just saying in the last one, we know that the radius is 11 feet. So the cylinder is going to be 45 feet minus 11, which would be 34, because it doesn't include that 11 inches. So our volume of this cylinder is going to be 121 pi times 34, which is 4,114 pi. All right, for our hemisphere, since it's a hemisphere, it's half the volume of a sphere, so 1/2 times 4/3 pi, and the radius is 11 cubed. So we're going to do 1/2 times 4/3 times pi times 11 cubed, which gives me 2,662 pi over 3. So to find the total volume, you are going to add the 4,114 pi and the 2,662 pi over 3, and that will give us the final or total volume of the silo. And that should be 15,712.2 feet cubed.